no more trans in the military. And everybody's clapping and cheering as if that's this great, awesome thing. Well, it is. It is. It's a sign that we're getting back to reality. It's just crazy that the Supreme Court has to rule on something like this for numerous reasons. But okay, now that it has, the situation is going to be put to bed, and that's the good part about it. Guys, it's Wednesday. It's the 7th of May, 2025. It's now about 9:48 in the morning here in Germany, and this is the Insanity Report, where we're going to talk about the trans and the military deal. But before we do, I'd like to ask you guys to like, subscribe, retweet, repost, all the free things you can do to help me get out there to more people. I'd appreciate it if you did them. Comment below, do all the things, because that's what helps the algorithm push my content out to more and more people, which is what eventually what I'm going for here, right? So help me out with that. And if you want to get all my content delivered directly to your email inbox with no bans, no censorship, no nothing, you'll get my articles and all my videos. Do that at my Substack. It's allaboutlogic.substack.com. Subscribe there for free, or support me with $5 a month. Either one is fine, and then you'll get everything, and you won't have to wait for it. It doesn't get censored or banned or removed or anything like that. All right. So now that we're done with that, a little bit of self-promotion, the trans and the military thing. Look, it's good that the Supreme Court ruled on it. It's not good that our society and our situation has deteriorated so badly that we actually have to waste Supreme Court time and court docket cases and life minutes on ridiculous shit like this. You know what I'm saying? It's utterly insane. It really is. But what's good about it is now that the Supreme Court ruled on it, it's a non-issue, right? It's over with. So that's the good thing. And it should have been over with a long time ago. It should have been over with, before it ever even started, because obviously the trans and the military thing is crazy. You know what I mean? And again, the ruling is not so complicated, but if you want to watch the whole ruling, go to Robert Gouvea's channel, Watching the Watchers on YouTube. He explains these kind of court cases in great detail, shows you all the documents, all the stuff. But I'm going to give you like the Cliff Notes version of this, right? Obviously, trans people can be barred from the military, plain and simple. Why? Because they are suffering from a mental condition. And what they want is they want to join the military and get special treatment from the military, which would be discriminatory against everybody else. See, that's not how life works, right? You can't do that. You can't say in the military, well, this person, Bobby, feels like Bobette, and so now we're going to let Bobby pretend to be Bobette. All of you motherfuckers have to play along with that, and you have to let Bobette into the women's locker rooms, the women's showers, the women's barracks, even though Bobette is clearly Bobby. That's not going to work in a military setting. So, first of all, it's crazy that the Supreme Court has to get involved in this, because this kind of thing should just be up to the Department of Defense, the president, not any fucking circuit judge in America to say, well, no, I think differently. It's not up to them. They don't staff the military. The military is run by the Department of Defense and the president, right? And they should be at full discretion as to what is necessary to get in and how to behave once they're in. You see what I'm saying? It's not the draft, okay? People voluntarily go in the military these days. And if they want to, the reason I don't want to go to the military is I don't want to be told what to do. I'm not a big team player. I'm not somebody who likes to get yelled at for, you know what I'm saying? Just because. And I don't like taking orders, right? I don't like the style of authoritarian military. I'm a truck driver because I'm basically on my own. I don't have somebody looming over my head the whole time. I can fucking smoke when I want, piss when I want, you know, all that. Eat when I want, stop when I want. So that's the difference. That's why I like this job. That's why I would not go in the military. Good. If you want to go in the military, there are certain qualifications and certain standards that you'll have to meet. It's just that simple. If you have a mental disorder and actual body dysphoria or dysmorphia, whichever one it is, right, is a mental disorder, right? It's like the people that want to get rid of their arm or their foot or their leg because they feel like that's not a part of their body that should exist. And so they're not well, okay? They're not well, and you can't have people in the military that are mentally unstable. That's one. Also, the military does not want to be confronted with paying for all kinds of excessive trans bullshit, hormones, treatments, surgeries, etc. Right? That's at their discretion, right? It's also using our tax money for that kind of shit, which, if you ask most Americans, they don't want to do that. If they can save some money there, let's not do that, okay? Right? Let's treat actual wounds, you know what I'm saying, and real issues that come from being in the military, but let's not go in with a mental disorder that needs to have also medications and psychic treatments and then have to treat them differently because they're blah, blah. It's insane. It's insane that it's even a thing. But it is. Now the Supreme Court said it's not. That's it. It's dead. Now I've got a tip, right? I've got a tip for the trans people. Listen, in the real world where we all live, right, there are rules in every kind of place, you know, that we don't really necessarily want to follow and we don't like. I mean, I don't like following any rules, you know what I'm saying? Unless I see the logic in it, the usefulness in it, right? I don't like following arbitrary rules because they're rules, right? So I feel like, personally, for example, that no government or nobody outside of my private circle should be able to tell me, you know, how much I can drink, or if I can smoke weed, or if I can do any other drugs, right? That should be up to me as an adult to decide if I'm going to do that or not. That shouldn't be up to anybody else. That's how I look at it, right? Well, unfortunately for me, most places of business don't look at it like that, right? So most places of business. So, you know, if you're a drug user, right, of any kind, and you want to work pretty much anywhere, you're going to have to kind of keep that on the down low, right? You're going to have to you could come out, you could say, well, but then I'm not being me, man. If I can't shoot up, you know, at work, then I'm not me, man. And I can't live like that. Well, okay, if you can't live like that, then you're going to have to go find a job, or you're going to have to build a business and be your own boss. That's the only way you're going to get money, you know, or become a drug dealer and do it illegally, whatever you want, you know what I'm saying? But you can't go into a place of business where drug use is frowned upon when it comes to the employees, and a lot of times also the patrons, although the patrons they have no control over, right? Then you're going to have to keep that on the DL, right? If you're a dude that likes wearing women's panties, you know, because it makes you feel good and feel cool, well, then you can do that, right? You just can't tell everybody else you're doing it, okay? Then it's not going to be a problem. But if you go into work and other people see your panties, then you're going to get shit, right? People are going to be like, you're weird, right? You can't control what other people think and how they react to things. And that's the problem with the whole trans thing. First of all, the majority of trans people today are not sufferers of body dysphoria or any gender dysphoria, all right? They're not suffering from they're not suffering from that mental illness. What they're suffering from is the mental illness of ideology. They are too weak people to be able to look at something that is obviously a trend and go, yeah, that trend isn't for me. No, I'm not going to do that, okay? I'm not trans. I'm not bi. What is it called? Non-binary. I'm not, no. That's not my thing. A lot of people have the mental disorder of following their tribe no matter where it goes. So that's an ideology. The trans thing of today that we are talking about is an ideology, right? And you can be part of an ideology without telling everybody about it. So you don't have to betray your ideology to be part of it in order to go somewhere. So now that's the thing. If you are not really trans, which most people today are not, it's all make-believe in their head. They're not really trans, right? There are very few really trans people that are suffering from gender dysphoria. It's only those people, listen carefully, trans people, it's only those people that are getting barred from the military, right? The fake trans people, which is most people, you're not getting barred from shit. You're getting treated just like the rest of us that have things about our lives that we don't necessarily talk about or spread around or demand other people follow at work because we need a job. And so we don't talk about those things at our job. And the reason why is because we want to keep our job, right? And not everything is like that. I mean, you can be a Christian and have a job and talk about Christianity at your work and shit. That's not a problem, you know? I mean, some places might make it a problem if you really are trying to preach to people all day long, but just talking about it isn't a thing. It's not a thing if people know you are a Christian. You're not going to get fired, right? Now, if people know that you're wearing women's panties, you know, you might not get fired. You might get told by your manager, like, hey, yo, dude, you got to get, I mean, cool, but nobody can see it. Like, you got to keep that shit to yourself, dog. And if you don't, well, then you're going to get fired, right? So all that's happened by the Supreme Court now is that the Supreme Court just said, listen, trans people, you can identify as whatever you want. You can come into the military, right? And you can identify as whatever you want, but you are going to get treated like your biological sex, right? So the sex you were born at, right? You will not, if you come into the military as a dude and you want to be treated like a woman, that's not going to happen. But you can join the military. Okay? And so then I know their excuse is going to be, but if I can't use the women's locker room and the women's bathroom, then I'm not being treated like a woman and I feel like I'm a woman. Well, okay, that doesn't work, right? You can't, in the military, that's not going to work. At Starbucks, probably you'll be all right, okay? Starbucks, probably, cool. Ben & Jerry's, cool. You know what I mean? Any bar, probably also not a problem. You know what I mean? You'll be able to get a job, you know, for sure. No problem. It's just not in the military, right? You probably also won't get a job as a cop and demand that you have like a women's uniform. You know what I mean? That probably isn't going to happen anymore either, if it does happen at all, right? So you just have to live like all of us do. All of us have to keep things about our lives private when it comes to dealing with the public. That's how life is. You know what I mean? You know, I can't just go around. I couldn't tell my boss, yo, boss, I'm like a hippie in my head. You know, I want to smoke. I need to smoke weed all day. I know I'm driving a truck, a 40-ton truck, right? But look, dude, bro, I need to smoke weed all day. You know what I mean? Is that cool? Because otherwise I'm not being me, man. My boss would probably be like, yo, dude, no. You know what I'm saying? It would be no, right? So you just can't, certain things in your private life, you cannot mix with your public life if you want to be able to navigate public life. It's really just that simple. And this is something that, just 10 years ago wouldn't have taken court cases in the Supreme Court. I mean, the Supreme Court in England just had to rule that a woman is defined as, an adult human female. You know what I mean? The Supreme Court of England had to make this call. Well, the reason why they had to make this call is because the fake trans, right? The fake trannies are out there trying to force governments and institutions to bend reality to their liking, which includes forcing all of us to go along with all of their crazy shit, which is insane. They tried it. It doesn't work. England said, fuck it. We're done. Supreme Court says no. America has now also said, Supreme Court says no. And that's the end of that story, right? And so the fake trans people can jump up and down all they want, you know what I mean? And cry and ball their fist and whine and bitch. It's done. That situation is done. And luckily, we're getting into the area now where the Supreme Court is going to be taking over more and more cases, right? And then it's going to be putting an end, hopefully, to all of these crazy questions that we seem to have in our heads. Like, wow, well, what is a woman? And why can't trans people join the military? It's just, fucking dude, we've got to get back to common sense and reality. The shit is driving me crazy, right? It drives me crazy to see rulings like this one, but they're there, and I guess we're lucky they are there. Again, it's just disgusting that our societies have devolved this badly that we have to have the Supreme Court step in to answer and codify obvious questions. It is getting frustrating. For real. It really is. But all right. It's a win nonetheless. No trans in the military. Whoop. That's it. It's over with. So jump up and down all you want, guys. We'll see you tomorrow on the next Insanity Report. Peace out.